So, Brianna, what kind of tip, trick, and secret did you want to share this week?
Today, I wanted to talk just about something super easy that I think everyone should start trying out or consider trying out, which is intermittent fasting. I know you guys do your intermittent fasting. It's such an easy tool. You don't have to think about, what am I going to have versus can I have this? Can I not have this? It's just you eat, stop, eat. So you eat all of your nutrition within an 8-hour window to start. There's other different ways to do intermittent fasting. I just recommend starting consuming all of your meals within an 8-hour window. Benefits of intermittent fasting really come down to lowering insulin. So every time you eat, you're going to spike insulin. Insulin is a hormone that we're often seeing people are becoming insulin resistant, so pre-diabetic. A great way to start lowering that fasting insulin is just by intermittent fasting. I mean, when we were kids, we didn't get to go into the pantry whenever we wanted and grab a snack. It was like, no, you're going to spoil your dinner. Or after dinner, no, you don't get more snack. You just had dinner. So we've really gotten away from eating 2 to 3 meals a day because there was this whole notion that you eat multiple meals throughout the day. So I would recommend try having a window of time. There's a great app called the Zero app. So you can track your fasts and then you get to see them on the app each week. I do it.
Cool. I think I have that.
Sure.
I never know, like, if you're only eating within that 8-hour period, and now there's so I've heard some discrepancies, and please explain it, because I know they say that for women, their fast should only be 12 hours, but men can be 16, or does it matter?
It matters on the unique individual. So if someone has insulin resistance and we need to get that insulin down, or they have weight that they need to lose, or the hormones are in a place where intermittent fasting could benefit for them, then perhaps we're doing a 20-hour fast. Until their levels get better, once they're in a healthy range, then maybe an 8-hour fast, right? So it depends on where the individual is. There's not a one-size-fits-all men.
Okay, good point. Okay, so my next question is, during that 8 hours, can I eat like the whole time and just like do like my salad, then my meat, then my fruit, and then by the time you're done, you're ready to start your dinner, or have like some nuts or something? Or can you graze through that entire 8 hours, or should you have one meal at the beginning of the 8 hours and then one meal at the end of the 8 hours?
So in terms of, it depends what your results that you want. So if you're looking for weight loss, better blood sugar control, you want to have bigger meals but less frequently. Every time you eat something with carbohydrates or proteins, even if it's healthy foods, you're going to spike your insulin levels. So for instance, if you're going to have a treat like dark chocolate or whatever you're having for a treat, it's better to pair that up with a meal because that's one insulin spike versus having something pre-dinner, dinner, post-dinner is 3 insulin spikes.
Oh, okay. But if you're eating consistently through the entire 8 hours, isn't that just one insulin spike?
No, and also you have to give your digestive system the opportunity to break down your foods. So if you have like half digested foods, then you're throwing in more.
Oh, you're so smart.
You know what though? It works.
It does work.
And Brienne knows this because I would see her. Do you remember that time we went to Niagara Falls and you had said, "Oh, I need to eat something, but I'm gonna wait till this time," and I was like, "Why are you waiting?" And you're like, "Well, I have to wait for, I'm intermittent fasting," and I didn't understand. I'm like, and you said, and I said, "Well, I have to have my breakfast." I have had breakfast for the last 49 years of my life, and now I don't have breakfast anymore. Like if I want breakfast, I just save it for my lunch to have it. But I can't believe what a difference it makes to intermittent fasting. Like I thought that I would never be the person that would be able to do it because I have to have my breakfast and I would have to have something to eat before I went to bed because that was just my bad habits that I had. And now I have complete full meals 2 times a day, and I am completely satisfied with that. I can't.
So Brienne, question for you, because we're all kind of social beings, and you want to get out and have that glass of wine or have that vodka soda. So if you're doing the intermittent fasting, can you have that glass of, and I'm sure you can have like three within the time that within your eating time?
Yeah.
And how does that affect your diet
So
or your results?
alcohol is primarily carbohydrates, so that is going to spike your insulin. The best way to blunt that is with proteins and fiber. So if you can have it with, some type of protein and, vegetables that contain fiber, that would be best case scenario. And then do it within your 8-hour window.
Okay.
And it's not that breakfast is bad. Everyone gets the bad rap that like eating in the morning is bad. It's not about the morning meal, but traditionally in North America, our morning meal is bagels, donuts, cakes, muffins, cereal. Like, it's not that removing breakfast, removing eating in the morning creates all the results. It's removing what we're eating in the morning. Most individuals want to eat with their family, a family dinner, and that's social for them. So it makes sense for them to remove their breakfast. But if you want to eat breakfast and have an earlier dinner, you can completely do that too. It's just about the 8-hour window.
Well, and then making sure you don't eat anything 3 hours before you go to bed. So you got to make sure your timing for your last meal, you've got 3 hours. Because in the beginning, we had so much energy when we were intermittent fasting. We had so much energy, and it seemed like we were always like eating a lot of food. But then you would eat, and then because we weren't really doing anything and we're not eating any fats and whatever, you just wanted to go to bed in the beginning until your body kind of got used to it.
You have to convert from being a sugar burner, so always needing a fuel source in your body, to being a fat burner, right? So your body has to be able to break down its own stored fats and produce ketones. As soon as you can produce those ketones, which is a marker of your burning fats, your burning fatty acids, the ketones give you more energy, more mental clarity. But there can be a discomfort between burning carbohydrates to burning ketones.
Yeah. But now I'm fine. Now I can stay up the 3 or 4 hours after eating, and I'm okay. But before, it was like,
in the beginning,
it's like you eat and it's just like. But I think because too, like that's when we first started not drinking. So it's like now you're sitting there and you're watching TV going.
So my,
it's like might as well just go to bed.
I remember I was saying, I think we should go to bed so we don't open up a bottle of wine.
But we did good. We did the whole 6 weeks, so it was good. So it was good. So
Brianne, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So after your final meal and your fasting, can you consume as much water as you want?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some people that recommend more extreme fasting or dry fasting. That's not typically what I do. I say unlimited water, unlimited black coffee, unlimited black teas, anything that does not contain proteins or carbohydrates is fine with my clients.
Oh, yeah, but what about my broths? Do they break your fast?
No.
Like, no, there's no meat in it. It's just like it's only like the vegetable broths.
Yeah, the broths are fine, in my opinion, completely fine. Even if it is a meat-based broth, those meat-based broths will have fats in them. They won't necessarily, they'll have like maybe minuscule amounts of protein and carbohydrates, not going to really make a difference. And fats don't spike insulin, so they're not going to break your fast. If like the benefits of fasting that I want for my clients is a reduction in insulin. So the fats that might be in your meat broths are not going to impact. Plus you enjoy it, right? Like I want it to be comfortable. If you're not happy while doing it, there's no point.
Okay. Cool.
And question for you, Brianna, I really always wanted to kind of know this. So when you're in intermittent fasting or you're doing a keto diet, and when you say you really want your body to be in ketosis to start burning that fat, how is it for, I'm going to say, us healthy people that have that are not diabetics or pre-diabetics? Are we saying that being in ketosis is okay versus people that have type 1 diabetes, for them being in ketosis is super dangerous and can be deadly? So can you maybe just explain the difference, like why is it good for us and not for diabetics?
So diabetic ketoacidosis is completely different than a healthy individual breaking down fatty acids and noticing some ketones in their urine. If you're type 1 diabetic, you want to be very cautious. I wouldn't recommend intermittent fasting unless you're working with a practitioner who can monitor those ketone levels. The difference between us is our pancreas can produce insulin. So us meaning those who do not have type 1 diabetes. Our pancreas can produce its own insulin, and our cells can respond to the insulin. In type 1 diabetes, you're not producing that same response. Your pancreas can no longer produce insulin, and oftentimes the cells become resistant to it as well. So it's a completely different case. And our blood sugar levels are going to be maintained differently because we have the ability to produce insulin and our cells can absorb the glucose from it. So it is really different. And ketones in a healthy individual without type 1 diabetes is fine. Type 1 diabetes, you do not want to get into that state, of course.
Thanks.
Wow.
Well,
Wow, that's great. I'm just mesmerized.
I know. You know what?
I wish
You're like this, a dictionary. Everything.
Do you see this one here where it says fats?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Fats, when you liberate fatty acids, this is another place that people sometimes get stuck. Your fatty acids have to be able to enter via acetyl-CoA into the Krebs cycle. This requires carnitine and B vitamins. So if you're deficient in carnitine and B vitamins, your body can't take these fatty acids and burn them as energy, which is going to be a problem because then you're going to not feel good. Like you'll be sluggish, you'll be hangry feeling, you'll be unmotivated,
And you know,
not seeing
those are all the feelings I used to have before.
Right.
Always.
So you have to really focus on making sure that you have enough carnitine, which you can get from meat-based sources. If you don't have meat-based sources, then consider, you can run a test to see if you're deficient in it or just supplement. Consider supplementing with some carnitine to burn those fatty acids in the Krebs cycle better.
Here's another question, which was one that I had when I joined your program too, and it worked. Your program for me is just this Tracy. She wants to know, what is the number one thing to a person who is diagnosed with a hypothyroid? What should they do?
Yeah. So you want to see if you have elevated thyroid antibodies or not. So one of the main causes of underactive thyroid function is because of Hashimoto's, which is elevated thyroid antibodies. It's immune system attack on your thyroid. If that's happening, we need to look at what is your vitamin D levels. Vitamin D is really important for the immune system. This is controversial, but there is some benefits I've seen clinically to removing food sensitivities. So if there's certain foods that are triggering your immune system, that can make autoimmune disease worse. And I've seen that in my practice. So removing gluten, dairy, soy would be my top ones to consider. Then for thyroid function, your thyroid primarily produces T4. That T4 has to be converted to T3. You want really good T3 because that's the active thyroid hormone. That needs key minerals like selenium. Iron's really important as well, vitamin A. So make sure that you're not deficient in iron, not deficient in vitamin D, and have really good sources of selenium. So Brazil nuts, you could do 4 to 6 Brazil nuts a day for a dose of selenium. So you need all the nutrients to make the thyroid work. And then if it's at a point where you require some pharmaceutical treatment, then it's important to have that done and then reassess your labs. I like to reassess every 6 weeks to see if it's at the appropriate dose for you. And the full panel, you can't just run TSH. TSH is the brain signal to the thyroid. Your brain could be talking just fine, but if your thyroid's not producing the right numbers of hormones, I don't really care if the brain's talking to the thyroid. I need to know how much hormones the thyroids are producing. So measure T3, measure T4.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps.
Yes.
Trace.
Yep.
So that describes me, she says.
Yep.
Perfect.
And
Okay.
if thyroid antibodies are elevated, thyroid antibodies can be elevated up to 10 years prior to getting a hypothyroid diagnosis. So you can feel unwell for a significant period of time that you might not have to prior to entering into a full hypothyroid state.
Okay, cool. All right. So I would like to go into my favorite products that I want